Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back for another bariatric surgery chit chat. Today is Sunday. Currently, my bariatric surgery is scheduled for Wednesday the 23rd, which is in 3 days. I don't know what time yet. They're supposed to call me Tuesday afternoon to let me know what time to be there. Hoping it happens early in the morning, and that way they're telling me for sure 1 day in the hospital, possibly 2 depending on my recovery. They get me in at 7, I'm done by 11 or 12. Then I can be up and walking around and hopefully minimize the amount of time that I actually spend in the hospital. So that's where I'm at right now. I just was gonna go over in detail some more information that I've got from the nutritionist and the doctor. So that's where we're at right now. So just to recap, when I went and saw the anesthesiologist, they check you because with general anesthesia they put you down, they have to intubate you. They say just in case, but I think that's just to keep from scaring people. They're going to incubate you, where they put the tube down your throat so that it keeps your lungs inflated and breathing while they operate. Now, this particular operation should be 5 small incisions across the abdomen, and they should be able to do everything laparoscopically. The doctor did forewarn me that because of my size and the fact that I can't get under the 500-pound limit, there is a chance the incisions may be bigger. There's a chance that instead of doing the full gastric bypass, he may only be able to do the sleeve, which is basically half the bypass, where they just cut out a portion of your stomach and they just don't bypass the intestines, and then a year later they look at going back to finishing the bypass. And then worst case scenario, they'll have to completely open me up in order to do the even the sleeve. So he did say if he opens me up, he's doing the full bypass no matter what, but he wanted to minimize the incision sizes. So if he's not able to do the full bypass, he is going to at least try the sleeve laparoscopically. So I'm not overly thrilled with the option of only getting part of the surgery done, but it's a necessity for me. I want it done, so I'm okay with only doing half and then losing some of the weight and then possibly going back in a year and doing the rest of the bypass. So that's kind of where it's at, and that's the information he's given me. He did tell me that if I could lose the weight that easily, I wouldn't be in his office, and it's kind of the truth. I've tried on and off or not even on and off, I've tried for years to lose the weight, and I'll get down and then it bounces back and I down and up, and it's just, it's a never-ending fight. So, and a lot of times there's no payoff, there's no weight loss, and I can starve myself or eat right for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I never lose anything. So that's kind of where I'm at. As far as the anesthesia appointment goes, they're gonna put me under. There's nothing. It's a little weird, because it's a sleep that they control. But I don't have any weird thoughts or fears with that. I mean, I do know sometimes the medication can react weirdly with your body, and that can cause a problem. But I mean, that's a risk of any surgery, whether it's the bypass or something that, later in life, if I can't get the weight off, a heart attack, they have to go in and put a stent in. And I'd rather go under this anesthesia, do the small incisions, than in a few years possibly be facing open heart surgery. You know what I'm saying? That's a real fear. So I did write down a few fears, thoughts I had about the whole surgery. So let me grab. So I'm going to go over some of the minor weird things. So one of the things they did tell me is that your palate can change. So I have a very sensitive palate as far as like taste and everything goes. So I can pull out the most minute details in a lot of things. And so one of the worries, or one of the things they say, is that it can possibly change. So I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen to me. It most likely will. I did tell the guy, the nutritionist who told me that, I did tell the nutritionist that told me that, that I didn't want to lose my palate because it was sensitive, and he said it's probably going to get even more sensitive, and that's kind of scary too, because there's a lot of things that people eat, like tuna fish and stuff like that, that's high in protein, canned tuna and stuff like that, that with a higher palate, that may not even be edible anymore because my taste buds get so sensitive. Among other things, it could really limit the foods that I can handle just from a taste perspective. The other thing is, this surgery, it's a life-changing surgery, and it's a 24/7 gig from this point on, but people fall off. People screw up and people go back to their old ways, and then they're right back where they were, and they gain all the weight back. If you're not completely careful, you can gain all your weight back. So that's kind of that's a little bit of a worry. Like what happens if I screw up? What happens if I stumble and can't recover? Where do I go from there? Right now I put a lot of effort into these videos, and because they allow me to distract myself from everything else. They're like a stress relief in a sense, because I enjoy doing the videos and editing the videos and things like that. So, but is that going to be enough, when I'm 6 months out in this surgery? What if I hit a wall, with the surgery and the weight loss, because it's bound to happen as well. Yeah, falling off, like just completely screwing up, is a real big fear right now. So the other one is sticking to the schedule. Like it's very, very specific as far as like your eating schedule going forward. Like you have to eat every so often. You've got to get in 90 to 100, or as a guy 6'2", I have to get in at bare minimum 90 grams of protein a day. And the thing is your body only absorbs about 20 grams of protein at a time. So like even if I can drink an entire shake that's got like 40 grams of protein, my body's only going to absorb half of that. So you've got to do that multiple times throughout the day. On top of that, there's a vitamin regimen, and you have to take a multivitamin. You have to make sure you get enough calcium and iron and vitamin D, and then on top of that you have to take a B12, which the B12 is easy. You take it, you can take it whenever, but like you can't take calcium with iron because the body can't absorb both of those together. So you have to do like a multivitamin with iron, and then 2 hours later do your calcium, and then 2 hours later do another multivitamin, because you have to take these multivitamins multiple times throughout the day, because even if the multivitamin says there's your daily dose in that vitamin, your body may not absorb that. So the vitamin regimen is going to be just as brutal as sticking to the food regimen. So I'm going to go over some more, like exactly how many vitamins that I have to have in just a second. I have a folder over here. Recovery time. I want my recovery to be fast, because I don't want to be in the hospital more than a day, because right now it's putting a bit of a pinch on my family. My wife's working, my kids are in school, and I don't want them to miss school, and I certainly don't want them sitting down there in a hospital waiting on me to recover. So I'm going to try and push myself as best I can to recover, but at the same sense, I don't want to over push myself and then screw up my recovery, and then I'm stuck in the hospital for a week. That's another concern, is pushing myself to recover so that I'm not inconveniencing too many people at one time, but at the same time not screwing up my own recovery. That's actually a worry of mine. And people are going out of their way to help out, and yeah, I could reschedule this, but I think if I reschedule it, it's not going to happen. If I don't get this done right now, it probably won't happen. And that's part of the reason that I've put this off for so many years. I wanted this years ago, and I kept putting it off because I always found a reason to push it off, because I put other people first, my family and my job and things like that. And that's, there's nothing wrong with that, but I need this done, and I want to get this done now. And if I have to postpone it, I know, there's no telling when it'll ever happen. So that's getting my recovery and getting through recovery fast enough so that I can stop inconveniencing people, because I can't drive myself, and I can't drive home after the surgery for like so many hours. So that's a big weight on the shoulders, is trying to figure all that out while not completely messing up other people's lives. So the surgery in general, I'm hoping he can do it with the small scars laparoscopically. I hope he doesn't have to open me up. I mean, I want the surgery done, and I'll go through the whole process of, if he has to completely cut open my stomach to do the surgery. But, that's extra recovery time and more inconvenience to people. And I don't know, the surgery itself doesn't scare me, because I know this guy's, Dr. Friedman's done it a bunch, and I'm in good hands. And even if he doesn't do it, his second in line is just as good as he is and has just as much experience doing the surgeries. So I don't think I have any fear of the surgery itself. Just there's risk and complications. The anesthesia could goof up and could cause things to happen. But all in all, I mean, I'm not worried about the surgery. But again, there are risks, so it would be stupid not to have a little bit of fear going into this because of the different risks, not just from the surgery, from the anesthesia, post-surgery infections and things like that. So I keep looking at the lens. Post-surgery is just as much of a worry, because of all things can happen after the surgery. So just getting off the operating table and into recovery is not necessarily all clear. There's different things that can happen post-surgery. There's staph infection, and there's a lethal version of staph. So, I mean, I would be stupid not to be a little afraid, and there's definitely a little bit of fear with the surgery, but my hope for the future and the outcome of the surgery far outweighs that. So, those are just some thoughts I wrote down, some fears and worries that I had in regards to the surgery. I'm going to grab my booklet real quick and go over like the vitamin regimen and like what each week's going to entail. As far as vitamins go, you've got to have a multivitamin, and you've got to have 18 milligrams of iron, 400 micrograms of folic acid, thiamine, and zinc. You have to do 1,200 to 1,500 milligrams of calcium citrate a day. And you have, like I said, if you take the multivitamin, you can't take the calcium nitrate, so you can't take all these together. They've got to be taken separate because your body can't absorb calcium and iron together. Then it's recommended that you get 500 to 1,000 micrograms of B12 a day, which that's, that they just dissolve under your tongue. They're real easy. I picked up the B12, and then I also have the next one, vitamin D3, which is the calcium citrate is for your bones, to make sure your bone density doesn't weaken. The thing with this surgery is that, if you eat 3 ounces of steak, you're only going to absorb about an ounce worth of it, and the nutrients is severely diminished. So that's part of the thing with this surgery, is that you can take in 1,000 calories, but your body's only going to absorb about half of that if you're lucky. So that, on top of regular exercise, makes your body, you'll lose the weight faster, but you have to manage the amount of food and stuff that goes into your body so that you don't get sick, you don't lose muscle mass, which is why you have to have the protein. The vitamins are important because you can have hair loss if you don't get enough of your vitamins in. It can cause problems with your skin and your sight. So you have to have 3,000 IUs of D3, which I'm not sure what the IU stands for, but I've got it. I've ordered the multivitamin and the calcium citrate, but I've already got 2 bottles of B12 and 2 bottles of the vitamin D. So those are the vitamins that are specific. Now, they do They do give you a location you can buy the vitamins from. The one they gave me is like $100 for like a month's worth of vitamins, but I found them cheaper at another bariatric surgery site called Unjury, and you can actually buy supplement as far as like protein powder and stuff like that. So that's where I went with, and they were a lot cheaper. I think a 2-month supply cost me $30 for the multivitamin. So that's the vitamin regimen. So right now I'm on the pre-op liquid diet for 2 weeks. So the things I can have are water, protein shakes, beef or chicken broth, bone broth, broth-based soups that have been strained, cream soups that are strained, sugar-free popsicles, jello, pudding, light yogurt with no chunks, light Greek yogurt with no chunks, soupy hot cereals, so like oatmeal, cream of wheat, and grits as long as they're soupy, milk, Fairlife milk, unsweetened soy or almond milk, decaf coffee or decaf tea, Gatorade, Powerade, etc., or like Crystal Light, Propel waters, no carbonated beverages. So that's 2 weeks prior to surgery, and then I'm on that 2 weeks after surgery. So the problem is like cream-based soups I can't have because I'm lactose intolerant. So I've had to go with Fairlife, and that's what I make my shakes and stuff with. I did find yogurt that is lactose-free. It's a coconut-based yogurt or skim silk yogurt. The problem is that they're really high in sugar, so it kind of cuts yogurt out. So that leaves me down to pudding, broth, soupy hot cereals, water, protein shakes, Crystal Light, Gatorade, decaf tea, and decaf coffee. But I'm not a big coffee drinker. I never have been. So that's week 1 and 2 before surgery and after surgery. Then you move on to week 3, 4, and 5 are pureed, which means most everything I take and it has to be blended. So blended smoothies, it has like fruit and stuff in it. Anything from the liquid diet's good. You can do canned tuna or chicken that's packed in water, but they recommend you blend it. You can blend baked chicken, turkey, fish, boiled eggs or scrambled eggs that are mashed or pureed, blended canned beans or low-fat refried beans, cottage cheese can't have, pureed cooked or canned vegetables and fruit, baby fruits and vegetables. You're supposed to take in at least 6 small meals a day. They told me to get a baby spoon. I got one because they said basically that's how you're going to be eating afterwards, is a baby spoon at a time. It's supposed to take 30 minutes to eat each meal, and we're talking ounces, so that's going to be interesting. On top of that, every 30 minutes they want you to drink your liquids. Like if you're going to eat at 2 o'clock, you need to drink at 1:30 because the stomach's going to be so small it won't be able to hold both the liquids and the food. So if you drink and then try to eat, your stomach's not going to hold both of those. So that's going to be interesting and unique to get used to, is not trying to drink when I'm eating, and making sure I get my liquids in on top of food. Right after surgery, they tell you that staying hydrated is your most important thing, and that's 65 ounces a day is what they want you to drink. I think it was 65. Let's see. 64 ounces of fluids daily. They want you to drink an ounce of liquid every 10 minutes. So that's like a baby, not a baby, but like a medicine cap every 10 minutes to make sure you're staying hydrated. Same sense that you can like chew on like crushed ice or suck on crushed ice, to get that in as well. So that's right after. That's within the first 2 weeks. You still want to get 64 ounces a day of water or liquids going forward. So that's why you got Crystal Light and Gatorade and Powerade and things like that. So yeah, week 3, 4, and 5 pureed foods. Anything that's soft works. 6 meals a day. Limit meals to 4 to 5 tablespoons so that you don't get nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, gas, and stomach pains. Always allow 30 minutes between eating and drinking. You can take tiny sips with your meal to help keep the food moist to get it down. And some of these foods I may not be able to eat because after surgery the stomach's so small that sometimes not all the foods digest properly and they get hung up and cause even more problems. So that's week 3, 4, and 5 is going to pureed foods. I've heard some people even just buy stage 1 and 2 baby foods, and they eat that during the 3, 4, and 5th week. They'll sacrifice the taste just because it's easier, and you just carry the jar around with you. If you're with 4 or 5 tablespoons, that's probably half a thing of baby food, or maybe a whole thing of baby food, if that. So I don't know about that. We'll see when we get there. I've tasted baby food. I always tasted the food that we fed our kids, and if it was atrocious, we usually didn't feed it to them, and we would just make them stuff. So, no, probably not. So, week 2 or 3, 4, and 5. This is a sample menu. So 7 to 7:30 is breakfast. 1 scrambled egg, 2 tablespoons of oatmeal. From 8 to 9, 8 ounces of water. 10 to 10:30. 8-ounce protein shake. 11 a.m. to noon, 8 ounces of Crystal Light. 12:30 to 1, that's lunch. 3 tablespoons of blended tuna salad, 2 tablespoons of pureed fruit. 1:30 to 2:30, 12 ounces of Gatorade. 3:30 to 4, a snack, so a half a cup of cottage cheese or pureed fruit or something. 4 to 5, 8 ounces of water. 5 to 5:30, 4 ounces of Crystal Light. 6 to 6:30 is dinner. It's 3 tablespoons of pureed chicken, 2 tablespoons of pureed vegetables. 7, 8:30, 8 ounces of Gatorade. 9 to 9:30 is snack, so a quarter cup of light yogurt. 10 to 11, 8 ounces of water. So that's just one of the schedules that they give you an example of for weeks 3, 4, and 5. Let's see. Week 6 is when you go to the soft diet. So baked fish, chicken, turkey, no poultry skin, lean ground beef or turkey, but it has to be soft. So most people, when they fry up their ground beef and stuff, they get it crispy and it's got the crispy edges and bits to it. This has got to be soft, so I'll probably boil it just to be safe. Dried beans, peas, and lentils that have been well cooked, so they're soft. Creamy peanut butter, vegetables that are canned or well cooked, so nothing like steamed that's got a bite to it. Canned fruit and unsweetened juice. Allowed food in small amounts is cereal, crackers, baked potatoes with no skin, toasted bread, saltine crackers, or Melba toast. Those are to help you get your proteins in. So 1 cracker with a tablespoon of tuna on it, so that it gives you a little bit extra texture, but you want the protein to be the main source, and the crackers just kind of to help you get it in. So it's not you're not just sitting there with a can of tuna fish just eating tuna. It changes it up. So that's week 6. That's the soft diet. One of the things day 1 is scrambled eggs and grits, protein shake, cottage cheese and peaches, turkey and cheese in a roll with a half a slice of toast, baked fish and mashed potatoes, Greek yogurt. There's a whole week for the soft diet. After week 6, we get into week 7, and that's the regular diet. 6 meals a day still, but you start introducing normal foods. The same thing, 30 minutes in between meals and when you drink. Constantly taking in the vitamins. The vitamins are all through these meals. Now, week 6 and back, all your vitamins, any medication you're on, has to be crushed and mixed in with something. So you have to make sure all your medications can be crushed. You have to go to the pharmacist and ask them if it can be crushed or not. So I've checked into all mine. All mine are crushable. All the vitamins I'm getting for the first 2 months are going to be crushable or chewable vitamins, so they just dissolve in your mouth. Can't have regular bread after this because it gets doughy and it'll get caught in your stomach, so you have to toast it first. So the following foods are common intolerances: nuts and seeds, skins of potato, cucumber, eggplant, and apples. Good, that says skin. I was worried because I kind of like eggplant, I kind of like and I like cucumbers, so it's just the skin that I can't have. Membrane between oranges, so the white membrane between oranges and grapefruits. Celery, asparagus stems, and string beans. Anything that's got a string on it can get hung up in your stomach. Untoasted bread, soft or uncooked pasta and rice, steak, pork. The steak and the pork worry me a little because I do like to do a lot of barbecue. Some people can handle it in small doses, so hopefully I'll still be able to smoke it because it gets rid of a lot of the fat and stuff. And when I barbecue it, it's real tender, so hopefully it's not too bad. Of course, you have to stay away from fried foods, gravies, desserts, high sugars, chips. Ask yourself, should you rather than could you eat something before eating it? So that's week 7. Once week 7 hits, we get into the regular meals and the regular food. It's a lot to read into, guys. I've heard it said that this is the easy way out. You know, a lot of people will tell you that this is easy, and you know you're cheating and taking the cheater's way out, and it's not. It's so involved getting this done and staying on top of it with the food and stuff like that, that it's a little overwhelmingly daunting, and that's why they have you see a psychiatrist and stuff before you even get into this, to make sure they think you're mentally prepared for this, because this is a mental game as much as it is a physical game. So surgery's on Wednesday. I'm excited and scared and anxious and nervous and bubbly with anticipation all at the same time. So, like I said, I'm ready for it. It's going to be an interesting change, and I can't wait, in a year to make one of these videos talking about it and be like, guess how much weight I lost. So, I hope you guys will stick along for the journey with me. I'll keep you updated regularly. Thanks for watching. Ask any questions in the comments. Till tomorrow.